Preservation and Analysis in Auto Accident Defense. My name is Chris Pekarski. I'm the lead counsel for Allstate Insurance in Oregon, Southwest Washington, Alaska, and Hawaii, and I'm also the chair of the General Liability Practice Group. I'll be serving today as the moderator for today's presentation. I'm pleased to introduce our presenters today, the first being Bob Siegel. Bob Siegel is Director of Client Services for Peter R. Thom and Associates, where he is charged with overseeing customer relationships and ensuring client satisfaction. Prior to his 15 years with the firm, he held several senior leadership positions at Silicon Valley-based technology companies. He's a graduate of the University of California at Davis with a degree in geography and has taken advanced coursework in remote sensing, mapping, and data analytics. Peter R. Thom and Associates is a nationwide automotive forensic consulting and engineering firm providing failure analysis, accident reconstruction, and expert witness services. The firm has been helping attorneys with reliable expert opinions for 35 years. Bob will be joined during the Q&A session today by Chris Priest, an automotive engineer who has overseen over 500 auto and truck accident reconstructions, working with attorneys in Oregon as well as across the country. I want to thank both Bob and Chris for being willing to appear via Zoom to present today and to field your questions. Before we get started, I would like to quickly walk through some housekeeping items. First, your microphones and video are muted for this webinar. To ask a question, please enter it into the chat section. We will monitor that chat section and ask the questions of the presenters on your behalf, most likely at the end of the program. Please feel free to submit your questions at any time. We'll answer as many of the questions as possible, but due to the limited time available, we may not be able to get to all of your questions today. We are applying for CLE benefits. We are recording this presentation and will be making it available at a later date. We plan to circulate the presentation materials, details on how to receive CLE credit, and our contact information via email after the webinar. And in fact, you should have received a link to the presentation materials already. With that, we will start the presentation and I'll turn it over to Bob Siegel. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Glad to have you here. And I'd like to welcome you to our presentation. Again, I'm Bob Siegel, and I'm Director of Client Services for the firm. Our firm, Peter R. Thom and Associates, is a nationwide team of automotive engineers and university engineering professors who help attorneys and insurance adjusters investigate auto claims and provide expert opinions. Today's webinar is intended to introduce you to advanced technologies used by forensic scientists for gathering and preserving motor vehicle accident data to help in determining liability in automotive accidents. And as Chris mentioned, we'll have some time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions. So this is a list of the topics we'll be briefly covering today. And I hope when we finish, you'll have a better understanding on how the digital age is transforming the automotive industry and in the process, providing new resources for reconstructing accidents. It's a lot to cover, so let's get started. Vehicle accident forensics is a process of investigating, analyzing, and drawing conclusions about the causes and events leading to and during a motor vehicle accident. A comprehensive accident reconstruction is intended to help attorneys and adjusters determine who is at fault for the accident and if there's any shared liability. Factors to consider includes the actions and conditions of the participants, or the human factors, the movement of the vehicles involved, known as vehicle dynamics, the conditions of the vehicles, and traffic and roadway conditions, visibility issues, lighting and weather conditions, and more. Onboard microprocessors and other state-of-the-art technologies on today's vehicles are continually processing information, which significantly expand the data set forensic scientists can use to create a clear picture of what happened before, during, and after an accident. Here we see a picture of Tiger Woods' SUV, which rolled over in Southern California earlier this year. That vehicle carries the latest generation event data recorders, as well as other microprocessors that can be tapped to augment the physical evidence collected at the crash site. We'll refer to it later on in the presentation. As discussed, vehicle accident reconstruction is a scientific process of investigating and analyzing the causes and events leading to a motor vehicle accident. Traditional methods employed by engineers involve data collection and data analysis. Data collection includes scene inspections to document points of impact and rest, or POI, POR, the environmental and roadway conditions, and in addition to these, examinations take into account human factors such as visibility, as well as perception and reaction within the confines of the accident scene. Data collection also includes vehicle inspections to document vehicle conditions, crush, protective devices used, and to review vehicle history for spotty maintenance and defective components. And it includes document collection and a review of police reports, medical records, driver and witness statements, as well as repair records from shops and dealerships. And data analysis applies the law of physics and vehicle dynamics to the collected data to analyze such things as speed and motion and to determine collision forces. Now, newer vehicles today make extensive use of computer and digital systems to collect performance metrics, monitor sensor data, scan external environmental conditions, process telemetry data, and even communicate with other vehicles and infrastructures in an unending data stream. The reality today is that the modern vehicle is a complex network of highly integrated electronic systems. A typical vehicle now contains more than 75 computer systems, runs over 150 million lines of code, and can generate more than 25 gigabytes of data per hour. That data is collected, processed, and stored on board, thus creating a valuable depository of evidence that can be extremely valuable to investigators. The modern motor vehicle today is a virtual computer on wheels, utilizing sensors, microchips, and software to manage and control driving activities and engine function. Vehicle black boxes, known as event data recorders, EDR, have been around for almost 3 decades. And now, as vehicles incorporate more and more digital systems and functions in an increasing connected environment, a plethora of new data points have become available for the forensic engineer to analyze. I've listed some examples here, including on-vehicle cameras and surveillance videos to provide visual records of an accident, mobile communication devices to document phone or texting activities prior to an accident, and drones, satellites, and other surveillance technologies to gather information on location and record movements. The Internet of Things, or IoT, describes the growing network of object embedded with sensors connected to the internet or telecommunication networks for monitoring and exchanging data. Rapid advances in vehicle V2X technologies means objects such as other vehicles, infrastructure, and any IoT embedded device can be monitored and accessed remotely. I want to emphasize, however, that while these new sensors and systems can help corroborate and support an opinion, they do not replace the need for a comprehensive accident reconstruction by a qualified forensic scientist. Beyond onboard sensors and monitors, there's also an expanding array of external devices, which are monitoring and recording vehicle data. These include home, commercial, and municipal video surveillance recordings, police license plate scanners and intersection cameras, GPS and satellite systems, cell phone towers, mobile phone apps and other cloud computing devices, OEM-equipped vehicle network and Wi-Fi systems, and services like General Motors OnStar Safety and Security Suite and other vehicle monitoring systems. Now let's go over some of the most common EDR data retrieval tools and other types of proprietary systems that are often very useful in accident reconstruction. Here's a list of the most often encountered software and hardware systems. We'll briefly go over each of these. For our purposes, an EDR is a data gathering module located within a vehicle airbag control module, or ACM. The ACM is typically located in the passenger compartment under the center console, dashboard, or seat, and is responsible for the management and deployment of airbag and seatbelt pretensioners that help keep occupants safe. Here in the photo, we see a typical ACM. Note that it's silver, not a black box, with connectors and a plug bolted directly to the vehicle body. This unit passively monitors vehicle systems until woken up by either a non-deployment event, such as sudden braking, rapid acceleration, or radical steering, or a deployment event, like an accident that leads to airbag deployment. Data from a non-deployment event is stored on the module until overwritten by another event, or in some cases, after a large number of ignition cycles. It's important to note that the data from an airbag deployment event will be permanently locked in and cannot be overwritten. A proprietary crash data retrieval, or CDR system from Bosch, consisting of both software and hardware, is used to access data collected by the module. EDR data varies greatly among the vehicle's manufacturers, and even within the same manufacturer's make, model, or year. A data download from a Ford Taurus will not likely produce the same data set as a Chevy Impala, and so on. Laws regarding access also varies from state to state. Some require the vehicle owner to consent to the download in the absence of a search warrant or other court order. A trained engineer is the safest resource for downloading and interpreting all EDR data. While some data downloads may be straightforward, many require extensive automotive knowledge of the electrical and supplemental restraint systems in order to avoid data corruption and evidence spoliation. Event data recorders will store several seconds of pre-crash and post-crash data. Typical data sets are listed here. The newer generation EDR modules can provide even greater insights into vehicle systems and functions. On the right, we see 5 seconds of pre-crash data downloaded from a newer model Toyota vehicle using the Bosch CDR tool. In this example, you can see that there are many data fields populated from multiple vehicle systems. This particular vehicle was equipped with many driver assist features to help manufacturers, to help maneuver a vehicle down the road. The insured in this case claimed that the vehicle was set on adaptive cruise control when it crashed into the rear of another vehicle. Sorting through all the vehicle system data, it became apparent that the vehicle was not in any type of self-drive mode, and that the crash was simply the result of driver error. We're often asked to opine on malfunctioning driver assist features or unintended acceleration or braking. You can see that EDR data can be very useful in making a determination if it was vehicle or driver error. Keep in mind that proper vehicle inspection by a trained engineer is always recommended to confirm that these systems are working correctly. Looking beyond the universe of Bosch-centered EDR, a number of automakers have developed their own systems for accessing crash data which go beyond the airbag control module. Each system has its quirks and subtleties and invariably distinct software systems and access cables. Tesla, which produces all electric vehicles based on current EV and autonomous technologies, relies on a greatly expanded data set to actively monitor and perform analytics on the vehicle performance. This can also be said for all the other electronic car manufacturers. Specialized Tesla equipment is required to access and analyze the Tesla data. Most Tesla models contain a series of both interior and exterior cameras, along with high-precision sensors that are always recording and interpreting data. Accessing the data is often a two-step process. On the surface, crash data from the EDR can be easily recovered along with some video clips from either internal or external cameras directly from the vehicle. But for the higher exposure cases, vehicle diagnostic and data logged and stored in Tesla's servers can be obtained through certain legal processes directly from the manufacturer. And the data can be extensive and require a trained automotive engineer to interpret. But analyzing Tesla's expanded data set can be not only useful by Tesla engineers in their efforts to understand why the accident happened, but also by a forensic engineer to reconstruct an accident for an attorney or insurance company. South Korean automakers have their own proprietary system for accessing data on their vehicles, which is not supported by the standard Bosch CDR system. Data retrieval on these vehicles require a specialized diagnostic tool, which first became available in 2012. Earlier in the presentation, we saw the picture of the Hyundai Genesis GV80 that Tiger Woods was driving when he crashed in Southern California. His vehicle was equipped not only with an event data recorder, but Hyundai's luxury Genesis line also features artificial intelligence software that can monitor drivers' awareness, alerting them when detecting distraction or eyelid closure while driving. All this data can help forensic investigators to piece together the seconds before and during an accident. Most newer Toyota vehicles contain an extremely useful system called TechStream, developed by Toyota to provide very detailed diagnostic information on vehicle functions, including such things as driver assistance and onboard cameras. TechStream provides many new layers of information and much higher sampling rates than the Bosch system, and can be utilized by forensic engineers to provide additional insights into vehicle function. This data can be accessed only through a proprietary dealer-level software. With newer vehicles, we often get quite lucky and are able to recover still images such as this one and this frame from vehicle front and rear cameras. These images can be tremendously helpful in stitching together an accident sequence. Data collected and stored by heavy vehicle EDR can be very useful when analyzing a truck accident. The most useful data comes from trip and event data recorders on engine electronic control modules, or ECMs, and wireless fleet management systems, such as tracking and communication systems, mobile resource management systems, and telematics systems. It's important to note that a truck ECM is engine dependent, not manufacturer dependent on most passenger vehicles. Extra care is required when retrieving data from a heavy truck. This data is extremely volatile and can be easily corrupted or overwritten. We ask our large commercial clients to have their fleet operators or owners always contact us before leaving an accident scene. Valuable ECM data can be overwritten or corrupted with the turn of an ignition key. Towing the vehicle using the appropriate towing practices is always recommended. When it comes time, make sure that only a qualified automotive engineer with heavy-duty truck experience attempts to access this data. Telematics is the combination of two disciplines, telecommunications and informatics. Using telematics, data is gathered from various onboard sensors and control modules and transmitted to fleet managers using GPS and other telecommunications technologies. Prior to telematics, access to data required a technician to plug into the vehicle controller in order to download the log data. This manual process has now been replaced by a wireless transmission in real time. Accessing data in the telematics system will usually require a proprietary software and hardware combination. Vehicle inspection logs are available as part of a telematics system and provide valuable information on vehicle maintenance record, including a description of mechanical problems and documentation of repair and corrections, which can be useful when determining the mechanical health of a vehicle prior to an accident. For example, if a brake component was flagged as needing attention and a subsequent accident occurs, such information could be used to support a case that the vehicle couldn't stop. Driver logs are also collected as part of a telematics system. Mobile phones and infotainment systems are also collecting and recording data which may be relevant when considering liability. Most newer vehicle models have the capability of monitoring events and creating logs with timestamp and geolocation data. This data can remain on a vehicle's system for weeks, months, or even years, and can be accessed to provide information on vehicle events such as door openings, gear shifts, odometer reads, ignition cycles, speed logs, and more, on location and navigation information, including routes, previous destinations, and saved locations, and information on devices that have been connected via the USB port over Bluetooth or wireless networks, and all the data associated with those devices. Burla, a US-based firm, has developed a system for accessing and analyzing controllers located throughout a vehicle, along with the information contained in the infotainment and Bluetooth data of connected devices. This includes call logs, contact lists, text messages, emails, pictures, videos, social media feeds, and more. And also look at GPS data, including navigation history of everywhere the vehicle's been, where and when the lights were turned on, which doors were opened and closed at which specific locations, and so on. Before going to the next slide, I'll give you a moment to look at the information here on the slide rather than reading it to you. Okay. GPS can be used to record a vehicle's location and speed. As vehicles travel along a route, its location is recorded as a series of points which trace the path the vehicle has traveled. These points can be recorded at a set interval of time, or they can be recorded intelligently using algorithms based on the vehicle's change in speed and/or direction. The global GPS arrays include a constellation of 32 geosynchronous satellites. A minimum of 4 satellites should be in view of the receiver for it to compute accurately. The more satellites registered by the GPS device, the more accurate the results. The GPS basic standard frequency, accessible to the general public, has an average accuracy within 15 meters. Civilian accuracy can be further augmented to 3 to 5 meters by using ground-based reference stations of a known fixed position. GPS signals can be affected by tall buildings, nearby steep mountains, or large flat surfaces causing echoes and multipath signaling. Certain atmospheric conditions can also impact accuracy. Careful analysis is required before making decisions based upon the data. So here we have an example of a Burla IVE path report, which was retrieved from the infotainment center of a vehicle. Using GPS data, vehicle location is tracked and mapped. The vehicle path report shows the streets and directions of travel of the subject vehicle. Note that there are many layers of data available for piecing together where the vehicle was going and what it was doing. Everything from intended or selected points to vehicle events such as door openings, vehicle ignitions, and more can be made visible through the map layering option. Okay, we will now briefly cover a few other useful technologies that help aid accident reconstructionists and engineers in piecing together an accident or event. Video surveillance is an extremely useful technology when reconstructing an accident. Video recordings can now be found at many locations, including businesses, homes, public places, on roadways, as well as on vehicles. Keep in mind, most video surveillance systems have a very short storage time and will likely overwrite data within a few days. This video was taken by a home surveillance ring camera, which happened to perfectly capture an accident in the middle of the night. Ouch. Some other useful video apps include programs like Citizens app, which is a mobile application that creates a personal safety network based on your phone's location in relation to an event like an auto accident. Users of this app can have live stream videos and take photos of the accidents, and this media is then sent via mobile connection to any nearby persons using the app to inform them of these types of events. A thorough and timely scene inspection is recommended, which should always include canvassing the area for surveillance videos and other useful video devices. And online media such as YouTube, Citizens apps, and others should always be thoroughly researched in order not to miss out on relevant information. When an accident does occur, 3D laser scanning technology can be used for efficient and accurate documentation of a crash scene, vehicle locations, as well as environmental and architectural details specific to the site. Our larger commercial clients with higher exposure typically ask us to laser scan vehicles and accident scenes immediately to collect and preserve accident data to avoid missing information that could possibly prove relevant later on. Laser scanners are expensive, but have proven their worth to accident investigators. Information can be collected without causing lane closure or traffic interruptions, and scanners can be deployed in complete darkness or in direct sunlight. What's more, the scanners deliver exact configuration data of roadways, road size, and intersection areas, and exact geometric features for road safety analysis. The emergence of laser scanning technology also greatly facilitates the creation of highly accurate 3D geospatial modeling of of an accident, which can then be used to demonstrate accident events at trial. Juries love computer modeling and simulation, and a dramatic visual presentation based on laser scan data can greatly increase jurors' understanding of complex issues. 3D laser scans should be considered an extra layer of insurance for whatever a claim or suit may bring down the road. Spending a few hours 3D laser scanning today can help save big money down the line. Drones provide a bird's eye perspective. It's a view that can be very useful in expanding the picture of the accident scene and showing relationships of objects within the affected area. Like all remote and digital downloaded data, the drone's image should always be verified by ground inspection. It's important to note that in some states, courts expect the experts to have visited the crash site and to have physically examined the vehicle in person. A key technology in automotive evolution, V2X, or vehicle to everything, allows automobiles to connect directly to each other, roadside infrastructures, and even pedestrians to deliver benefits ranging from road safety and traffic efficiency to smart mobility and driver convenience. Verifying all data is always critical. We can currently gain access to certain types of V2I infrastructure systems, such as red light cameras, intersection cameras, speed and radar units, and traffic light signaling units. As the world of V2X evolves, more and more data will become available to help engineers and accident reconstructionists determine what led to an accident. Digitally collected data can be very valuable in the analysis and reconstruction of car and truck accidents. However, be careful. Relying exclusively on digital data can be misleading if not interpreted properly and can result in incorrect or unreliable conclusions. Digital crash data is best used in combination with and supported by a detailed physical inspection and thorough engineering analysis, and not as standalone testimony. The determination of relevance requires a comparison of crash data to other physical evidence. This analysis and interpretation of the data is best left to experienced automotive engineers who are aware of all the limitations and schooled in broader analytics. EDR collected data has past challenges to admissibility in trial, but it is crucial to follow proper protocol to establish the integrity and reliability of the data. State laws requiring access vary from state to state. Some require the vehicle owner or lessee to consent to the download in the absence of a search warrant or court order. 17 states have enacted laws regarding access to data following a crash, and every state has computer trespass statutes that may be applicable to data recovery, including Oregon. There are also caveats for data crash retrieval that are crucial for minimizing chain of custody questions and spoliation claims. Tampering with airbag sensors or attempting to remove EDR from a vehicle can hinder airbag operations and void warranties. Plus, airbags are explosive devices that can be very dangerous when handled improperly. As for the module itself, jolting or mishandling the module when powering up for a download can trigger data overwrites or loss. For these reasons and more, especially in severe crashes, all interested parties should be present to observe data downloads, which should be properly documented, listing who attended and filming of any disassembly. Post-accident, the ideal strategy is to access the data promptly before anyone attempts to start the vehicle or the vehicle is destroyed. Especially on complex, high-value claims, it's important to gather all data and evidence early while still available and preserve it should it be needed later on. Confidentiality is very important. Anything written may become discoverable. Every file handled by our firm is managed by a forensic engineer who oversees all work as a confidential consultant. They're able to discuss in confidence all aspects of a case and provide guidance and insights into theories of liability without risk of discovery. The managing engineer shares with experts of records only what needs to be shared in order for he or she to develop an opinion in their areas of expertise. And the managing engineer will also vet any opinion with other specialists to ensure that every opinion can be relied upon in trial. With so many potential data sources, it's crucial to determine early on what data might be useful. The future trend is towards metadata analysis. As vehicles become more digitized, more data will become available for analysis. It's been estimated that nearly every vehicle in the United States will somehow be connected to a telematic or GPS systems by 2025. The future of automotive big data lies in cross-referencing real-time driver data with data on weather, parking availability, road conditions, and traffic delays to deliver information to drivers and their vehicles as quickly as possible. Driverless connected cars of the future will rely heavily upon sensors and real-time data analytics. Rather than just looking at historical data, the trend will be to develop predictive analytics to prevent accidents and improve efficiencies before actual problems occur. We spoke earlier about the unique role of our managing engineers who have extensive experience in auto accident forensics and claims management, and are the attorney's confidential consultants who are never deposed, so able to discuss the good, bad, and ugly with the goal of helping achieve the most favorable resolution. They review each claim and suggest the optimal expert match considering the accident type, exposure, location, and if the claim is expected to go to trial. They help in considering all theories of liability, educate attorneys on technical issues, assist with depositions and interrogatories, review opposing experts, arrange courtroom exhibits, collaboratively prep for trial, and ensure the defensibility of all opinions. It's a unique and very successful business model, which has served our clients very well. I wanted to let you know that we have 6 engineers who are locally available to work in Oregon, and many others are also available to be brought in for specific cases and deep expertise as needed. I encourage all of you to call our office and speak with a managing engineer who will review your case and make recommendations based on the specifics of your case at no cost. So, summary before we go to Q&A, I just wanted to say that our expert staff of 150 industry experienced automotive engineers and university engineering professors are available to help in Oregon and across the country. Our firm has been helping attorneys and adjusters make educated litigation and claims decisions for 35 years. Our website provides our details on our services, and we have the experience and expertise to help, so make sure to call us and discuss your next case. So Chris, you want to handle the Q&A?
Certainly, I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A yet. If anyone has any questions here's one from Grant Stockton. How long are we able to access data after the event? And I suppose there's the 2 kinds of events, the deployment events and the non-deployment events. So if you could talk about each of those.
Let me get Chris in here. Chris is our engineer, and he's going to be handling the Q&A.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Priest. I'm one of the managing engineers here at Peter Thom and Associates. Chris, would you mind reading that question once more?
Yes. How long are we able to access data after the event? And then I was hoping that you could talk about each kind of event, the deployment and the non-deployment events.
Yeah. So with I'll start with non-deployment events. Typically, non-deployment events will remain on the event data recorder for basically as long as it's not overwritten by another one. So, for example, most non-deployment events on newer vehicles, they can store somewhere between 3 and 5 non-deployment events, but they will be overwritten by any type of crazy steering or big change in acceleration, something like that. As far as deployment events, those are permanent and will not be erased at any point from the module. With heavy trucks, these modules are a lot more delicate than the standard passenger vehicle ones, and extra care is definitely needed whenever you're working on a medium or heavy duty truck. These modules can be corrupted. Oh, here we go. Start my video here. Hello, everyone. So these modules can be corrupted or easily overwritten by the turn of the ignition or improper towing. So when it comes to medium and heavy duty trucks, we always recommend a quick call if possible to one of our engineers, or we actually have this easy to read sheet, basically follow 4 or 5 steps on what to do if you have a medium or heavy duty truck that is in an accident. Following these steps will save you time and money down the road. Definitely, these modules are commonly overwritten. So,
I was curious if that seems to be a feature or a bug on the heavy duty trucks. It would seem like if they wanted the data to stay, they would probably be able to do that, and perhaps there's a reason they don't want it to be available.
Yeah, and with the heavy trucks, everything is dependent on the engine itself. And for instance, a Peterbilt truck could have a Detroit diesel or a Cummins or whatever kind of engine you want to put in there. These types of engines, they focus on the engine control module to make most of its decisions. It's kind of like the brain of the entire truck. They use this data more so for diagnostic data. Unlike passenger vehicles use it to improve and create safer vehicles, the truck guys just use this for diagnostic data. Not quite sure why they haven't come up with easier, more secure modules, but that's just how it is for now.
Okay. Are there any other questions out there for Bob or Chris? I'll give you a minute or so to type them out.
Of course,
there's a question.
everyone's welcome.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, any question that you come up with later, you're always welcome to send it to us. We'd be happy to answer that later on.
Yeah. There's a question about the rear video. Can you talk more about how rear video is accessed? And is it always being recorded, or is that something that's recorded just when there's an event?
It depends on the vehicle itself. 2 examples I'll use, one Tesla and one Toyota. With the Tesla, there are cameras that monitor basically any blind spots of the vehicle. Those are recording when the vehicle is moving and when the vehicle is parked. Accessing that data it's pretty tricky, and it's never the same procedure twice. On the other hand, Toyota TechStream and Toyota vehicles, they utilize there's a front sensor and camera and a rear sensor and camera, and some models utilize the backup camera. And this is typically only recording when the vehicle is moving and detects an event. So an event being like a sudden acceleration, a sudden braking event, sudden steering event, it may or may not record anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds of still images, which we could piece together for a video clip.
I have a question that kind of revolves around opting out. Are there ways that drivers can turn off or limit the information being gathered by their vehicle?
I don't believe so. One of the NHTSA statutes, I believe it's 563, requires manufacturers to log and preserve this data. Tesla, I'm sure, has those options because it's more of a computer on wheels than it is a car. I would imagine there are better security and safety options with Tesla than there are any other vehicle. But that is not something we run into too often. So,
in terms of things like apps,
It's kind of scary that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying, knowing that you're being monitored, everywhere you go, including your car, kind of creepy. But that's just not we're living in.
We have a question about apps. So Waze or Google Maps or Apple Maps. How is it possible to get information from those particular apps? How useful is it to get that information from those apps, and how difficult is it?
We had a case, I believe, about 6 or 7 months ago, where we had a driver who basically took a vehicle out, had no memory of what he did, where he went. It turns out he ended up crashing into multiple buildings, cars, caused a lot of damage, and ended up back at home, safe in bed, had no idea what happened. The damage to the vehicle was so much so where we couldn't access any of the data from the infotainment center. We actually ended up using one of our third-party vendors to tap his cell phone and the Google Maps timeline, and we were able to recreate the entire night sequence of his driving activities. So it is not hard to do. However, you do need the permission of the cell phone owner or the app owner to do so.
And in terms, like in that case, how specific is the information you're able to get?
It was very specific. I mean, just if you recall the Burla path report, it was very similar to that. And I actually took a look through my Google Maps timeline from a inspection I did over the weekend. If you open Google Maps and you click in the top right corner, there's an option for your timeline, and it's pretty scary to see what they save in there. Every search you do, every trip you take, the time that you were at one place or the next. So you have the option to turn these off. I know with Google Maps, with Apple Maps, and Waze is not as easy to access, but that is something I could look into if you are interested in.
Any other questions out there, folks? While we're waiting to see, there was kind of a portion of that last question I didn't ask. Are you aware of any time limitations for how long data is available from any of those particular apps?
I myself was able to go back, and that's just what's available to me personally. I'm sure Google may store data longer than that, but that's another. I could follow up and do some research on that and get in touch with anyone that may have that question. Get that answered for you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions today? All right. Well, seeing none, that will conclude our webinar. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, and thank you to Bob and Chris who made the time to present to the OADC membership. Just a reminder that an email will be sent out to all attendees following today's presentation with instructions on how to obtain CLE credit. On behalf of the general liability section, I want to thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And again, thank you, Bob and Chris.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.